Very good evening to you. Thanks for joining us on the Friday edition of the show. It's the last one for the week. We promise to make it worth your while. I'm Yemi Adebayo. Well, of course, on the show, we'll continue with our countdown to Africa's biggest football tournament. That's the African Cup of Nations. We talk about that. We talk about the Super Eagles of Nigeria, three-time African champions, the hearts and minds with the Super Eagles of Nigeria. We'll continue the X-ray of the groups, the managers leading the teams in the group. We'll take a look at those managers and the teams they lead and the chances of making it out to the next stage. We will also, as we go on the show, talk about what's happening in England, the FA Cup. We will also listen to some of the managers talking ahead of some of those matches. Eddie Howe, for instance, has been under a lot of pressure. I'm talking about the Newcastle manager. We will also listen to probably get some updates from matches involving Tottenham and Burnley, Brentford, and Wolverhampton Wanderers. We'll do all of that even as we go on. Oscar Pistorius is in the news. We'll talk about him, what's happening with Oscar Pistorius, and also the comeback of Rafa Nadal has been halted. The progress has been halted. We'll talk about that even as we move on. Rafa Nadal, of course, lost today at the Brisbane International, but then he is still in contention. It will be at the Australian Open. That's the first Grand Slam of the year, a little over a week to the Australian Open as well. So how do we start tonight? Let's start from home. Of course, we will take a look at what's happening in Nigeria. It does appear that football will go on in the domestic league in spite of the Nations Cup going on. So I'll just go across and reel out to you matches that will happen. Match day 17, fixtures for, of course, the Nigeria Premier Football League for Saturday and Sunday. So I'll just go across now and look at those matches. Interesting matches that will be played. Let's start with Saturday, shall we? Saturday, Doma United will take on Katsina United, an interesting fixture that will be. And of course, Bendel Insurance will take on Enugu Rangers. That's also going to be very, very interesting to look at. So these two matches for Saturday, if you're in and around any of the venues, do your best to get a glimpse of the best on offer. That's Nigeria Premier Football League. Two matches to be played. All right, and let's flip and go forward to talk about Sunday. Sunday, here we are. On Sunday, Gombe United will take on Rivers United. Akwa United will take on Abia Warriors. Of course, the Aba Elephants, we know them as Eyimba. They will be up against Sporting Lagos. And of course, Kano Pillars. Pillars will be up against Plateau United. I mean, sometimes even the jerseys of these two teams look so similar sometimes, but of course, one's going to be home, one's going to be away, so we'll see what happens with those two teams when they play against each other, all right? Still more fixtures on Sunday. Niger Tornadoes will be up against Heartland. Kwara United will try on Lobby Stars for size, Remo Stars, and Sunshine Stars, a proper Southwest derby. It's going to be interesting to see what happens between these two teams. Remo Stars have become the darling of a lot of the football fans, especially in the Southwest and across Nigeria. Privately owned club, doing big things. They've been able to play on the continent. They've been able to do well on the league. And of course, their ambition this season is to win the league. And they're not far away. Truth must be told. So Remo Stars will be up against Sunshine Stars. The Shooting Stars, I grew up adoring this team. I grew up in a house where, it was always up shooting. Well, it's been topsy-turvy over the years for 3 years, that's Shooting Stars. But they will be up against Bayelsa United. They will be up against Bayelsa United. It's going to be interesting. So, trailer load of matches to enjoy for the weekend. So it's going to be interesting. And of course, like I said, two-man show. My colleague Austin Okonakman is ready, and of course will join in. Austin, Great to talk sports on a day like this. And of course, we're starting off with the domestic league.
That's it. It's funny greetings to you, and of course our viewers joining us from different parts of the world, action-packed world of sports. And yes, let's get right into it. Thank God it's Friday, by the way, and that means from today till the weekend, till about Monday, it will be all about our action-packed world of sports. The Nigeria Premier Football League. Good to have it back again. Match day 17 already. When you were reading out the fixtures, like, when did the league start? We're already talking about week 17 in the league. And what a story for teams such as Remo Stars, to an extent, Aimba, showing us that, look, whatever can happen should happen, but we are still Aimba. We are the elephants who always say, Zobu, Zobu. So they are still relevant this season. They're the defending champions. They might just go all the way, but we must not take away the exploits of Doma United, a team that only got into the league last season, and then they are chilling with the big boys and flexing muscles. They've beaten big teams this season. They've shown Gombe United how to use the Pantami Stadium in Gombe. In fact, it's a fortress for them. If you go there, just know that you go collect. And looking at the fixtures for match day 17, Gombe United going against Rivers United. Rivers United needs to do everything that they can to start gathering all the points before they start looking for these guys again, because they will soon be back to continental duties, and there's no way you won't lose momentum when you're chasing something on the continent and still trying to get your sights on what is going on back home. They get to play Gombe United. As I said, Kano Pillars, remember, went to the Pantami Stadium and taught Gombe United some footballing lessons. Rivers United can watch that highlight and say, we can go do the same thing, but yeah, it doesn't happen all the time with football. I'd like to see Kano Pillars play to United. That's a big, big northern derby. Kano Pillars this season has shown some promise. Rabiu Ali is telling us that he's evergreen. He can always step up for his team. Simon Sugida, after what happened to them that they got relegated, I'm sure they don't ever want to be associated with such stories with football in Nigeria. So against Plateau United, I think it's a good test. Let's see how they can put themselves together and get some decent results. Anything that's got Kwara United somehow gets me talking, because I still feel they're a decent team. And against Lobby, a decent Lobby that has shown that they can compete for the league title this season, that definitely should get us talking. You mentioned the Southwest Derby between Remo Stars and Sunshine Stars. Sunshine Stars, I think, have picked away points here and there this season. Against Remo Stars is a big, big test. This is a team that is focused. This is a team that knows how to go on the offensive play. This is a team that knows how to get maximum points at home. This is Remo Stars that have said, look, they are here to prove a point, that with the right management and right things in place, talk about players' welfare, talk about infrastructure, then players can actually play good football. I really want to see what will come out of that Remo Stars and Sunshine Stars fixtures. There's also Eimba and Sporting Lagos. I waxed lyrical about Eimba at the start of my analysis. I like the way they picked themselves back up. I like the way they showed that, look, when we go away and we need to get points, we will get it because we are Eimba. Sporting Lagos, decent side, newly promoted. They've shown that they can play at home, but they need to prove a point when they travel away. Can they prove that points going to Aba? I don't think so. It's going to be very, very difficult for them, particularly with Aimba, having, sites that, look, people are beginning to chase us. They want this league title, and we want it to stay relevant. So it's the Nigeria Professional Football League. I know you would say, out of everything I've done, I found a way to keep away from Aqua United, Abia Warriors. Don't blame me. These days, I remember when I was getting into this job as a broadcast journalist, I used to love Arsenal back in the day. What happened? I said, look, I'm a journalist. I want to stay neutral, but I was protecting my blood pressure. As I grow older, I should be able to talk football and not cry every week. Aqua United seem to want to take me back to those dark places, and I don't want to go there. So I'll wait to see what will come out in that game between Aqua United and Abia Warriors.
All right, good on. All right, we have somebody in the studio who's not going to have high blood pressure. Talking about the domestic league, he joins us now. He had to brave the odds to join us in the studio, and I should say Happy New Year. Rotimi Akindele joins us now. Rotimi, greetings to you. Thanks for finding out time to be with us on the show tonight.
Thank you very much, Jeremy. Good evening. Happy New Year. Happy New Year, Austin. Good to be in the studio again. Bro. Yeah, thanks, man. So.
All right, let me just, let's throw you into the discussion. Your thoughts, we're about to leave the Nigeria Premier Football League, but which of the games, stand out for you?
I think I want to start from where Austin ran off. The Aqua United game, now that Fatah Osho is gone, I think whatever had gone wrong, so far for about 16, 17 weeks should change a bit now. It's a home game. Even though you're not playing at the Nest of Champions, you still have a fine pitch somewhere around.
Expecting a new manager bounce.
Exactly. So I just feel Aqua United, yes, Abia Warriors might be difficult, but then again, it's a home game. If you want to stay afloat in the top flights, you need to start picking points, and you have a perfect chance to pick the one at home. So get all 3 points. You don't have to score much goals. Just score a goal is enough. Just make sure you don't concede. And then that should be good for Aqua United. And then I think another fixture I'll be eyeing will be Bendel Insurance Rangers. Looks like an interesting fixture as well, considering how Bendel are super strong at home, and then Rangers as well, also trying to, wriggle their way out of murky waters, as it were. And it looks like they have a bit of stability lately. So that's another game to look out for. Sporting Lagos Enyimba, like he mentioned, I don't see Sporting getting anything away from home. So I think Enyimba might just get all 3 points in that one. But then again, Sporting knows that we have to win at home and then try to get something super decent away from home.
All right, that's a wrap from Rotimi Akindele on the Nigeria Premier Football League. Let's address the elephant in the room. It's the African Cup of Nations, and that's what's going to get us talking for now and most part of the show. We started a countdown. I'm going to continue tonight. Let's tell you officially, it is 8 days to Africa's biggest football tournament. There you go, right there on your screen. 8 days to go. And we've always asked anyone that was with us in the studio if they're feeling the vibes. A lot of people said they weren't feeling the vibes, but when it was 10 days and everybody started releasing their squad leads, people started saying, yeah, I'm feeling it right now. I don't know if Rotimi Akindele is an exception, but Rotimi, 8 days to go. Are you feeling it now?
I've been feeling it for a bit. One of my favorite songs is actually Feel the Magic in the Air. That song was sung by Magic System. That's one of the biggest group in Côte d'Ivoire. And they were also on the theme song for the Nations Cup itself, and it should be at the opening ceremony as well. So it keeps me in that mode. I've been doing a lot of content and all that around AFCON, so I'm feeling the vibe. I'm counting that. I'm not even counting 8 days. I'm counting 7 days and the remaining hours. So that makes it pretty interesting for me.
You've been in it all the while.
Exactly. I mean, it's the biggest footballing showpiece we have on the continent, so we need to give it a lot of attention as well. And for the first time in a while, we don't have a debutant coming to this AFCON out of all the 24 teams. So it makes it difficult on paper. It's an anybody's game. You've got some form teams. You've got some teams who could probably, stare the nest and upset the apple cart, as it were. So it's really interesting. Côte d'Ivoire has really done well with the facilities we've seen via videos, via pictures. You want to experience all of that. And hey, it's just West Africa here, so
not too far away.
Not too far away. So you always want to be in that footballing fiesta mode, and that's why I'm feeling the magic already.
All right, Group E is going to be in focus. I want to give the floor to us, but I also want to quickly ask you this. In our lifetime, we've seen a lot of Nations Cups.
Yeah.
Now we're getting used to 24-team tournament. We used to have 16-team tournament. Now you're telling me there's no debutant. Do you think it's going to be easy for the smaller teams in quotes to spring up surprises?
It's very possible, because you look at the time this AFCON is happening, January, February, and then you feel for most of the top teams, they've got bulk of their players playing active football away from the continent. You look at the smaller teams, they have probably a large bulk playing in their domestic league. For instance, CAF released league representatives per nation, And then you've got Egypt in there with large numbers. You've got South Africa in there with big numbers as well. You've got Mozambique. So you look at some of these representations and you feel maybe the smaller teams stand a good chance. But then again, I feel experience, exposure would always count at some point when a tournament like AFCON is happening. And that's why the big boys will always have the edge. But I feel we might see one or two, maybe smaller teams, ruffle the nest, the feathers rather, and then maybe get into the round of 16 or even the quarterfinals. I'm not saying they'll go on to win it, because I still feel that experience, that exposure from the bigger teams will actually come good for the bigger countries, as it were. So fingers crossed, but you can mark it that we should see one or two small teams get into that, trying to get into that big mix, but it might not be enough to get them the title.
All right, also this guy who's always talking about oddity, always wanting to see the small teams progress. And we're going to that focus. We're going to look at Group E, Mali, Namibia, South Africa, and Tunisia. And before we quickly extract those groups, Rotimi has told you it might not be easy for the smaller teams to do that. Are you still keeping to that stance that, look, the smaller teams, he mentioned team unity and cohesion, having the bulk of your players playing in your country, it might come in handy. Yeah. Do you think some of those factors will help the smaller teams?
Indeed, Yemi, and we are in this business of facts, informed statistics, that helps us when we do these analyses. And that's why I always go back to the last edition of the Africa Cup of Nations. In Cameroon, Group F had Mali, Gambia, Tunisia, Mauritania. It was Gambia that was tied on 7 points with Mali to advance from that group. Group F. Group E, yesterday on this show, remember I was wasking and praising Coach Jamel and everything he has done for Algeria, but we're forgetting so soon that at the last edition, Algeria couldn't advance from Group E that had Ivory Coast, Equatorial Guinea, and Sierra Leone. In fact, Equatorial Guinea finished second in that group with 6 points. Algeria was able to get just 1 point. Algeria, with all the stars, with all the fantastic league, with a coach that understands football. You see? Let's move on, and I'll tell you more upsets. In a Group C that had Morocco, Gabon, Comoros, and Ghana, it was Morocco and Gabon that advanced, but Comoros had more points than Ghana. They had 3 points, Ghana had just 1 point. So you see, this sort of statistics will motivate these smaller teams that are coming into this AFCON in Ivory Coast. And we've said it, we love it now. No debutants, nothing like, they didn't have experience, And now, Africa is, when you see the big boys, flex muscles. If you think I'm lying, go ask the Super Eagles of Nigeria when they played Central African Republic. Go ask them when they played in Lesotho. Go and ask them when they played Guinea-Bissau in Abuja. Go and ask Senegal when they played Benin Republic. This small boys don't agree for anybody this year. Yeah.
All right. Let's see if we can do it in a minute before we go on break. We talked about Group E. I also talked about previous encounters, what has happened in previous tournaments. Let's look at the managers and the stats in favor or against the managers. We'll start with Mali in that group. Let's look at Mali. And of course, so the man in the picture is the coach. Eric Chell is the man appointed roughly about 2 years ago. He's had 12 matches under his belt, won 9, drawn 2, lost 1. That's the guy. Let's follow it up quickly, if we can, with Namibia and look at it. That's it. Colin Benjamin is the man appointed around the same time. 12 matches, 4 wins, 4 draws. Just same wins, draws, and of course losses for the man in the charge. And so we've looked at Mali, we've looked at Namibia, those 2 teams. Rotimi, I don't know if you can do this for me in a few seconds because we have to go on a break. In that group, we've seen Mali, we've seen Namibia. Your top pick, just straight away, your top pick before we go on a break in that group.
I think it's very easy.
Okay.
Mali.
With a straight face?
Yeah, Mali.
Mali, okay. All right. Rotimi is speaking Mali to go through in Group E. And just like Austin said yesterday, if it turns out that it doesn't happen that way, he will apologize. He has to apologize, but that's all for last. Let's go on a break right about now. When we return from that break, we'll continue with our X-ray of the coaches handling the teams in Group E and what some of us think will happen in Group E. Let's go for that break. We'll come back for more. All right, welcome back. We're X-raying the groups in the Nations Cup. We've told you it's 8 days to go. We're looking at Group E. Our man in the studio, Rotimi Akindele, with a straight face, says Mali to go through top. And of course, that group has Mali, Namibia, South Africa, and Tunisia. We're yet to look at South Africa and Tunisia, but let him go to Austin quickly. Yield some floor, just some ground to him to talk about. Rotimi has picked Mali, and even off camera says nothing's going to make him change his mind. It's going to be Mali and any other team. But you're looking at Tunisia, South Africa. Maybe we can't talk too much about Namibia, but I mean, with a straight face, it's great for Mali. I don't know if you're on the same page with that.
Yeah, I'll smile and pick Mali also. I remember I had this Group E conversation with you and Shola Rogers on the show, I think 2 weeks ago. And I was saying that it's pretty straightforward, Mali, for that group. And then I was saying I was scattered between Namibia, South Africa, and Tunisia. Unfortunately, Namibia, South Africa, and Tunisia, Namibia and South Africa went at the last edition. So we don't have much to use to talk about their performance at the last edition. But Mali and Tunisia were in the same group. Mali defeated Tunisia. Tunisia only struggled to finish third from that group, and advanced to the round of 16 to beat the Super Eagles. See how it changed quickly for them. A team that really struggled, that was plagued with injury worries. South Africa, I seem to like what they are doing with their football. And the Bafana, they come into every tournament with some vibes. So I'm just tempted to say they might just join Mali out of that group. But with what Tunisia have seen from the AFCON till the qualifiers, till recent times, they have so much lessons learned not to ignore. So it's going to be very difficult. And while I'm looking at Tunisia and South Africa, Namibia is saying we are underdogs. If Gambia can do what they did at the last AFCON, if Sierra Leone, Equatorial Guinea can do what they did, then let's prove a point. And I also told you and Shola that day that with what is happening in that region, as regards football development, they would want to always get the media talking about them while they prepare to host the AFCON. So yes, it's Mali and either South Africa or Tunisia. If you want me to put percentage to it, 60% Tunisia, 40% South Africa to advance. All right. But let football do whatever it wants to do. And with those three teams, I don't have to come here and apologize because I think they can cancel each other. Yeah,
you don't have to. But Rotimi was definitely nodding his head. Probably doesn't agree with that percentage.
Yeah, but I mean, he's entitled to his opinion. But then
of course, but it's going to be interesting to hear your side.
I think South Africa stands a good chance of advancing alongside Mali than Tunisia.
A higher chance than Tunisia?
Yeah, because the Tunisians lately, they usually do well in qualifiers. You play for World Cup qualifiers, AFCON qualifiers. You see the Tunisians, as a matter of fact, playing in Rades or Tunis has always been a fortress. But then there's a different vibe when you're playing a tournament. So the tournament form usually comes in late for the Tunisians, apart from 2004 when they hosted and won. I can't recollect any tournament that Tunisia had gone through and then blew everybody's mind. Like he mentioned, in Cameroon 2 years ago, they struggled, qualified as the third best team, one mistake from our goalkeeper, they advanced to the quarterfinals, and then they got knocked out. So I think in terms of percentage, if I'm going to mention a golden line of Austin, I'm going to flip it. South Africa has a stronger chance of qualifying alongside Mali in that group. Namibia could be spoilers, but I wouldn't be surprised if Tunisia falls out.
Are we going to have a whipping boy in that group?
No, you won't have a whipping boy. You won't have a whooping
okay,
team.
both of you seem to agree.
Yeah, we won't.
And that's where I disagree. I think that, Austin, I think that, we listened to was it the Namibian captain the other day was saying, look, South Africa, they were big brothers, we know them and all that. I have a feeling this is going to be a group that might have 3 teams qualify. And what we make that happen is that there might be a whipping boy in that group.
I don't think so, Yemi. I do not think so. Even Namibia, they are pretty decent in their own way, and I want to borrow the words that to me use. They can't be spoilers, They're just, and don't even listen to that captain. It's all mind games. It's all mind games because that region, Czechia, they know how to beat themselves. You see, South Africa will win one game at home, go and play a small team from that same region, and then they will lose 3-1. So they know how to beat themselves. And what is just trying to do is just trying to solidify their tag as underdogs, and then they go in there. It just takes one draw, one win, and another draw, 5 points, and we'll hear coming to tell you that Namibia made it to the round of 16. That's football where anything can happen. So no, I totally disagree. There won't be whooping boys. If I don't think there will be any whooping team at this AFCON.
Ooh.
There will not be, because African football has come to the point now that people are getting to understand that aside playing for prestige, there is also the commercial angle.
Yeah.
See, CAF is already cashing out before the competition starts. They're getting about $70 million from broadcast rights. Countries will begin to start thinking about ways that you don't necessarily need to win the AFCON. You just need to be at the AFCON long enough to get media talking about you, to get prospective sponsors checking your team out, and then the prize money is juicy. $7 million for the winner. I calculated it in Naira last night. That's about 6.3 billion Naira. The NFL would do a lot of things with that. So countries have this at the back of their minds, and all they're saying to themselves is, we just need to go to Cote d'Ivoire and then get people to talk about us. And that's it.
All right. We'll wait and see. On every point we've agreed, but I still think there's going to be a whipping boy. All right, let's still talk about the 2 teams remaining. Let's go on to talk about South Africa before we look at Tunisia. They have a man who is experienced, been at the Nations Cup. I think he's won it with Cameroon, if my memory serves me right.
Yeah.
He won it in 2021, 23 matches under his belt. He's won 12, he's drawn 7, and he's lost 4. There's a stinger, wasn't able to help South Africa qualify. Probably that's the only thing that counts to qualify for the last World Cup. Probably that's something that counts against him. Let's flip and look at the last manager in that. The Tunisian manager is the man you have on your screen, Jalal Kadri of Tunisia, appointed around 2022. 22 matches, is won 13, drawn 4, and lost 5. Stats don't play football, but not bad stats. Rotimi, let me get you talking about South Africa. They won in '96 when they hosted, but it's been a lot of diminishing returns for South Africa at the Nations Cup. In '98, they got to the final. The other year, they won 3rd place. And ever since then, they've been, probably their best performance after maybe the year 2000 was a quarterfinal. It's even a quarterfinal, second round, Do you think Hugo Broos is the man that will change all of that?
Well, when they won in '96, it wasn't 2014.
It wasn't, okay.
We didn't have a 2014 tournament. Well, I do not think Hugo Broos can change any of those narratives just yet. Just because, like I said at the start, you've got loads of teams that have experienced players, more exposed players playing outside of the continent, and then when they get to come for the AFCON, they bring those sort of vibes, bring that sort of experience alongside them. You can't say that for the South African team. Yes, you can have lots of exciting players that understand each other. That is not enough to win you an AFCON. And that's, if you look at the past winners of AFCON, you can probably corroborate what I'm trying to say with the experience and exposure part. So I feel, yes, the South Africans are a decent side. Their league is one of the best leagues in Africa. But then again, when it comes into that national team debate, I do not think...
They're not ready yet.
I don't think they're in there yet. So you can argue, yes, 96 maybe because you didn't have Nigeria. 98 they lost to Egypt in the final. 2000 I can't remember. I think they qualified. 2002 they were out. 2004 they were in. So you have that with South Africa. Yes, they've qualified for another. As a matter of fact, they had a good run in 2019 when Egypt hosted. We defeated the South Africans, I think, in the quarterfinals, and then they lost out in 2021, and now they are back again. So it's that kind of topsy-turvy imbalance or topsy-turvy performance for the South Africans. So I do not think Hugo Broos will probably take them to El Dorado in Cote d'Ivoire, because I just feel there are other teams with better exposed players, better quality players that can go on to win the AFCON. I'm not saying that teams with experienced players and exposed players can't crash out in the first round. We saw that in 2021. Algeria, I'm sure some other teams, Ghana and the likes. But for South Africa, I do not think they're ready to win.
All right. But that doesn't stop them from qualifying to the next round.
No, they can advance to the next round.
But
Why
winning.
not? But winning the AFCON, I don't think they're ready just yet.
All right. Austin, let's talk about Tunisia. And I don't know if you want to piggyback to what Rotimi has said about South Africa. And I must put my face to it, put my name to it as well. I agree with Rotimi 100%. I like the organization behind South African football. But when it comes to the team going all the way to win the Nations Cup, I'm not a betting person. I don't think they're ready yet.
I think South Africa can go to Cote d'Ivoire, Yemi and Rotimi, and sing the redemption song. The Bafana, they know, they understand this disrespect to have for them. Yemi and Rotimi, you remember like 5-6 years ago when we want to play South Africa, the street terminology we use say, we're about to play our wives because we know we'll beat them. But right after the qualifiers, I think, in 2018, that started
2017.
changing.
2017, I remember, was my brother's wedding.
Struggle.
They ruined it for me.
Yeah.
They ruined it. I remember 2017, it was June.
Yeah, we forgive them.
It was June, they ruined it for me. I rushed back home to watch. I blamed myself for doing that.
Then you remember the one in Uyo, before we knew what was happening, 2-0. And then we had to start fighting, and it ended 2-2. So they know that we do this analysis and bring in this disrespect. South Africa is ranked 12th in African football, and they're ranked 66th in the world. They don't like it. If you judge and take a look at the things that they've done for football development, they shouldn't be there. They shouldn't be ranked 12th in Africa. Guess what? They are more challenged, the Bafana, because when they look at what their women are doing and getting the world talking about them, they know they need to sit up. And that's why I believe South Africa can sing the redemption song at this AFCON. And they've got an experienced coach. And they've got players who also understand what it means to play football together and bond. And they want to just use this one to say, okay, we were missing last edition. They don't talk much about us. Now let's see what we can do. Against a sloppy Tunisian side. Tunisia, as I said, right after the AFCON, to the World Cup qualifiers, they brought some stability to their football. They are ranked 3rd in Africa, you see, and they belong to a region where they can look at what Egypt is doing, look at what Algeria is doing, look at what Morocco is doing. And you cannot just want to be left back. And the way they structure their football, there's some sort of regional development going on amongst those countries. And that's why it's always difficult when you have a North African team in a mix you can't ignore them. But I think South Africa knows it's time to rewrite history. It's time to stand up when we're talking about men's football in Africa because of what they command. And now, some of my friends in CAF, my sources, core sources, they're saying Mosepe is taking this AFCON personal. I don't know how he's going to take it personal because he's not going to lace his boots. But South Africa also have that at the back of their mind. Rotimi and Yemi, before the main action, the big boys play their own football when they sit in those board meetings. And if you check what South Africa has been doing with the club competitions, I rest my case.
All right, we'll let you rest your case, Austin.
I think it's better.
We'll let you rest your case. and we're not going to ask you for an apology if they don't do well. We'll leave it at that. But you've made a good case.
Thank you.
You've made a good case for Bafana. I hope they're listening, and I hope they make you proud with some of those things.
It's not rugby.
It's not rugby. All right.
And it's not cricket.
I think at this point, I need to take my seat. At this point, I need to take my seat. All right. We're going to allow Austin take us through what is happening. I mean, on nights like this, Austin is busy talking to us, looking at the game somehow, getting the information. So what's been going on while we've been speaking? So what's been going on with the matches in the FA Cup?
Third round of the FA Cup. And interestingly, aside Rotterdam United, the other three teams playing tonight are from the Premier League. Brentford taking on Wolves. That game, it's in the 62nd minute, and Brentford still leads by a single goal. Fulham got into the lead just before halftime in that game against Rotterdam United. It's Fulham 1, Rotterdam United 0. And the game between Tottenham Hotspur and Burnley is still goalless. 37 minutes already played. I thought last night's game between Crystal Palace and Everton was drab, and I was expecting to see loads of goals today. We're not seeing it. Let's just hope that before these three matches end, we're going to see goals. But definitely tomorrow, the FA Cup action will continue, and I'm certain we'll see goals, Yemi.
All right. We hope to see goals. And also, let's also hear your thoughts on this one. And I'm very sure you're going to take us through. Eddie Howe has been giving assurances that, look, forget about the bad results. The owners, they have their support. They're confident. But we know in football, when you start telling us that the owners, you have the support of the owners, doesn't take too long before something else happens.
I know, but I think Eddie Howe, some way, somehow, we should listen to him when he's talking these days. I don't know how he's doing it, but he has really tried. If you take a look at this Newcastle team, the pressure, they've got good players that want to make a mark and all of that. But let's be sincere, they are not world-class players. They are not names that will bang the door open when you're having a football conversation, So Eddie Howe has tried so much, and then at some point, injuries here and there, affected his team and the momentum he was trying to build with them. Talking about the FA Cup, I don't think it's going to be a problem, but he's just trying to take some pressure, the pressure off him. I feel if he gets the compliment of all his players and they start getting results in the Premier League, I think he might just survive this season. The board might be hurting with what happened to them in the UEFA Champions League. But what sort of experience did they take into the Champions League? So you can't put all the blame on Eddie Howe. Let's listen to him.
Well aware of my record here. It's not been good. The two games we've had have been really disappointing. So can't shy away from that. I have to hit that head on and try and make up for it in this game. It's our opportunity to progress in a cup competition. We want to do well in. We want the extra games, as I said previously, in the other competitions. So every part of us wants to progress and do well. They're a very good team, full of young, bright prospects. I think obvious threat is in the wide areas, depending on who's fit. But Roberts has done really well. Clark's an obvious threat. They've got good players in midfield as well, so we don't underestimate the challenge. We don't underestimate them in any way, giving them full respect in our preparation. The players will be well briefed on what they can do. But of course, really it's going to be about what we can do and how well we can play and how well we can execute our plans and how well our players can perform. And we need to get everybody back to their best levels as quickly as possible. As I said, when the draw was made, I think it was important we made reference to it and then put it away for the games we had to come. But I think with most of these things, it's better it stays internal.
Yeah, Newcastle manager Eddie Howe. And I know it's difficult to go to the Stadium of Light and pick results, particularly with Eddie Howe and recent results from there with his career. But hey, it's Newcastle Sunderland. I don't think it should be a problem for Newcastle.
All right. Since Rotimi is already smiling, maybe I should allow Rotimi say something. I'm very sure he'll say what I'm about to say.
Yeah.
That's not the problem. The problem is what happens next.
First off, it's a derby. It's a Tyne-Wear derby, and it's got a lot of history around it. So you always throw with the form when it comes to this sort of game. So Sunderland knows we are in the lower division, you are in the top flight. It doesn't mean you come to Stadium of Light and just run over us. So I think it's that sort of game that has replay written all over it. Exactly.
Even before it's played, you're already thinking of.
I think it's looking like that game that
both teams rather down the field than lose.
Exactly. So it looks like we might get to see a replay in this particular fixture. Maybe not for other fixtures, but the Tyne-Wear derby usually comes with a whole lot of balls, a whole lot of feisty action and all of that. So I'm looking forward to that. But then again, if it happens that Newcastle goes on to lose this one, are we likely to see Eddie Howe leave? I don't think so. I don't think the owners are thinking towards that, that trajectory just yet. So I feel there's still going to be time.
Let me ask you,
that.
This has been the word on the street, so let me just ask you.
Yeah.
Do you think there's a grand design, or you think it's a performance-based job, it's performance whether keep him on the job or lose, or they're waiting for the right time to bring the elite manager?
Maybe the latter. Okay. But then again, I feel they've trusted Eddie Howe enough. He might get to see out this season. Maybe going into next season, depends on what they get, because they might not get to qualify for Europe again after this season. And then if you not want to get back into Europe, you can say, okay, you've done well for us. So let's get a bigger manager that can get us in there. So, but I don't think we're going to see anything drastic from Newcastle United hierarchy concerning Eddie Howe.
Just yet.
Yeah.
All right. Well, the home stretch, less than 2 minutes before we wrap things up on the show. We will not go unless we talk about this man, Rafa Nadal, in the news. We were hoping to see Nadal in a test. I mean, Jordan Thompson wasn't even the test I was thinking of. But Rafa Nadal didn't pass what turned out to be the test. He lost against the home boy. And your thoughts to even see Nadal in a 3-hour, 25-minute game is a testament to how far he has come from that injury.
Yeah.
But do you see him as a contender at the Australian Open with this result?
Oh, yeah, why not? I mean, he defeated the Dominic Thiem in the first game, defeated another home boy, and now lost to this one. Look at the hours. It wasn't a blowout. It wasn't, he didn't lose it wasn't a badger, as it were, in tennis. So looks like he can actually contest, barring any sort of injuries again. He can come out now to say, oh, he was stretched, and the stretch for 3 hours plus has cost one or two things. If we don't have all of that, then I think he should be among the contenders at the Australian. Yeah.
Apart from Djokovic.
Apart from Djokovic and you would want to put in Rafael Nadal in that same category.
I wish we had time. Apart from Djokovic, who else? Because I see Djokovic running away.
So you have the other guys. You have the Medvedevs. You have the even Dominic Thiem. I mean, you can't rule him out. You've got Stefano Tsitsipas. You've got Alexander Zverev.
I'm not buying it.
You've got all those guys. So,
all right. We got to go. But Austin, obviously, we will not go without Austin giving us his take. Yeah. I have my fears. Djokovic might just be going away with this one again. I really don't see anybody stopping him.
He can take it, but I was having a conversation with a friend at Lovestead, and I said, if he meets Carlos Alvarez in the final, then we're going to have a final. I'm sure I remember to me, you're calling all those guys that Alvarez didn't pop up.
Wow,
That's the guy that can actually, if he wants to play tennis, have a fan of that in mind and say, let's stop talking about Djokovic, he ups his game, he can actually make Djokovic work. Because he's got a power play, he can go to the bases, he knows how to do those drop shots, and he's going to get in there with his Spanish mentality. But it's quite unfortunate. I wanted Rafa Nadal to win today. Now, after this defeat, yesterday, he said every day is like an adventure, but after today's loss, he said now he's uncertain. And I don't want Nadal to be uncertain. I want Nadal to be out there competing so we can keep talking about him and everything he has done for tennis. That is legendary, but it is what it is. He's not young, so it says he needs to assess that hip injury once again and make sure everything is fine for the Australian Open. Before we go, let me just let you know that Wolverhampton Wanderers have found a way back into that game in the FA Cup against Brentford. It's now 1-1. It's still Fulham 1, Rotterdam United 0, and Tottenham Hotspur 0, Burnley 0. That's the show in London. I'm Austin Okonakpa, and in everything you do, remember to keep talking sports. Bye for now.
All right. Well, it's a wrap in Lagos, but before we go, I want to thank Rotimi for his time on the show today.
Thank you.
Hopefully we'll do this again some other time.
No problem.
All right. That's a wrap on the show. We do hope you enjoyed everything. It's the last one for the week. You see us again next week. Before then, enjoy your weekend and do have a nice time. And, of course, you see us back next week. I'm Amy Adebayo. Bye-bye now.